Hello. So in this video, we're going to be talking about Luu Quang Vu's play Truong Ba's Soul in the Butcher's Skin, which I'm reading out of the Methuen Drama Anthology of Modern Asian Plays. First off, I want to say I am going to fuck up the names in this play. I apologize in advance, particularly since many of the names are deities. I have attempted to do my usual methodology for finding out how names are pronounced, which is putting them into YouTube and trying to find somebody who knows how they should be pronounced, who will say them. What I got when I put in names like Datik, which I think is possibly how it's pronounced, but probably I'm wrong. What I got was not very useful. Everything that I got was basically like actual proper Vietnamese media, and I don't speak Vietnamese, hence the source of the problem. So like I couldn't really discern the proper pronunciation. But that's it right there. Datik, I think. That's what I'm going to go with. If I'm wrong, again, I apologize. He is deity. He's the king of chess. I don't know how to play Chinese chess anyway, so I can't really I don't know what I would even do to sort of apologize for saying his name wrong, but that's what it is. So, Truong Ba, I'm also probably saying Truong Ba wrong. So, Truong Ba's Soul in the Butcher's Skin. Basically, this is based in a Vietnamese folktale. There are two gods in heaven, Bach Tao and Nam Tao, the northern celestial star deity and southern celestial star deity. I don't know if this is more or less offensive than probably continually mispronouncing their names. I'm gonna call them Tweedledum and Tweedledee because that's essentially they are that kind of character in this play. That is not meant to be offensive or to sort of denigrate traditional Vietnamese religion. That's my stopgap. So, Tweedledum and Tweedledee. Basically, they are in charge of determining who lives and who dies on Earth. They've got a book. They are bureaucrats, essentially. And in the early portion of the play, they have to cross out a certain number of names of people who are going to die that day. People who deserve to die, people who are evil, or people who have lived a long time, people who have achieved all of their life's work, whatever it is. However, what they observe is that nobody else in heaven is really working. People are just sort of off chilling, doing whatever. And so Tweedledum and Tweedledee are like, why should we be working so hard? Let's just like cross some names off at random. Which they decide to do basically because I think it's the celestial queen mother is having a party and they want to make sure they get there on time. So they end up, there's one person who's just an evil dick. Like he's a terrible dude. His name is supposed to be crossed off the list of life. But Tweedledum and Tweedledee are in a rush. They want to get to this party. And so they end up crossing a name off at random. The name that they happen to choose is that of Truong Ba. Truong Ba is a very virtuous farmer, or gardener, as he's called in this translation. He lives very simply. He's got like a vegetarian diet. He loves his family. He tries to raise them to be virtuous people. He tends his garden. He remains devoted to the old traditional ways of doing things. And he is very sort of satisfied in his life. He loves his wife, etc., etc. The only real source of contention for him is his son, who wants to become a market trader. Basically, the son is like, this is where you make all the money. I want to go, I want to get goods cheap and sell them for a huge profit. And Truong Ba's like, son, that's dishonest. Don't do that. Just fucking be a farmer. And the son's like, no, it's the 1980s. Why would I do that? That's dumb. You're old-fashioned and everybody knows it but you. So that's the one source of real tension in Truong Ba's life. The other figure we meet in heaven is Da Tik, the king of chess. He is such an amazing chess player that nobody else in heaven will play with him. Everybody is like, why? Why would I do that? Why would I just lose to Da Tik over and over and over again? That's dumb. I'm not going to do that. And so he's incredibly bored. He plays chess by himself over and over and over again. He mentions this problem to Tweedledum and Tweedledee, who suggest that he go down to Earth, violating the laws of heaven, and play with humans. And so Da Tik does. He arrives, disguised as a beggar, at the time when Truong Ba is playing chess with his friend. And Truong Ba comes up with this brilliant move. And the friend is like, oh man, yeah, that's the fucking greatest chess move I've ever seen. Nobody could beat that. And Truong Ba, tempting fate, this is his sort of moment of hubris, is like, not even Da Tik could beat that chess move. At which point, Da Tik, dressed as a beggar, is like, hey man, that's really cool. That's a great chess move. Can I try to beat it? At which point, Da Tik kicks his ass. Truong Ba just gets decimated with this move that he was so confident in. But the upshot is that Da Tik is like, you're like one of the greatest chess players I've ever played. You're totally awesome, man. You're my best human friend now. And so Da Tik gives him some sticks of incense and basically says, light one of these if you need me. If I can't get away for some reason, light 3 of them and you will instantly be transported to heaven. Da Tik leaves, and Truong Ba dies, because his name was struck off the Book of Life by Tweedledum and Tweedledee, for no good reason. So now, this virtuous dude who had 20 years more of life, according to the grand schema, has been... his soul has left his body, and it has sort of melded with the universe. About 2 weeks later, Truong Ba's wife happens to find the sticks of incense. She lights 3 of them. She gets transported to heaven. She's just walking around as a human woman, fucking got a headscarf on, got bare muddy feet, got a sickle in her hand, wearing her peasant stuff, just wandering through heaven. She comes upon Tweedledum and Tweedledee and Da Tik. They're all like, what the fuck are you doing here? You're not a god. You don't belong here. And she's like, I don't know. I just lit some incense. Somebody better tell me what the fuck is going on around here. And they're like, oh, we're Tweedledum and Tweedledee. They actually like to say their names. And she's basically like, oh, you're the motherfuckers who killed my husband for no good reason. Bring him back. And they're like, we can't do that. It doesn't work that way. And Da Tik, who, again, Truong Ba became like his best human friend. He manages to stop Truong Ba's wife from sickling Tweedledum and Tweedledee. They're gods, so I don't know what would have really happened in that instance, but he manages to stop her inflicting any sort of violence on them. And he's basically like, listen, here's the thing. If it was within like 3 days, yeah, we could. I actually know a spell. There's an old spell from a previous, an older deity taught me this. You could resurrect somebody. You put their soul back in their body. The problem is, it's been like 2 weeks since Truong Ba died. His body is decomposing. You don't want it back in there. It's gonna be a mess. Trust me. And she's like, well, you better fucking figure something out or I'm gonna sickle some motherfuckers up in heaven. And she just starts like kicking stuff in heaven. She just starts like wrecking heaven, just knocking things over, kicking pillars, knocking over trash cans, whatever it is. And so Da Tik is like, listen, okay, I've got a plan. Here's what we're gonna do. Tweedledum and Tweedledee, who in that village has died within the past few days? And they're like, we got this butcher. Butcher died. good stuff. Clean, juicy, non-rotten corpse. And Datik is like, all right, I'm going to stick Truong Ba's soul in the butcher's body. You will get your husband back. It will be his soul, butcher's body. Everybody wins. Apparently nobody considers that the butcher's wife is probably not going to be thrilled with this turn of events, where her husband's body comes back from the dead and is like, hey, I'm Truong Ba, farmer. Bye. But that is what happens. That is in fact what happens, because the next scene, we go to the butcher's funeral, where his wife is and two pig farmers who have come to sort of pay their respects, and Truong Ba's soul, which is how it sort of then gets referred to, Truong Ba's soul in the butcher's body, basically like gets out of the coffin and is like, where am I? And they're like, you're back from the dead. And he's like, what? I wasn't dead. Shut up. Why aren't I at home? And they're like, you are at home. And he's like, where's my wife? And they're like, this is your wife. And he's like, no, none of that checks out. Then Truong Ba's wife and his best friend show up and they're like, wait, where's Truong Ba? And he's like, I'm right here. And they're like, no, you're the butcher. We recognize you. And then they have to do this whole sort of elaborate, if you're Truong Ba, answer our questions that only Truong Ba would know the answers to shtick. Truong Ba successfully answers them, etc., etc. And so Truong Ba, who wants nothing more than to go home with his wife, tend his garden, love his family, chill with his granddaughter, who really, really likes him, etc., etc., decides that's what he's going to do. The problem is he is not in his own body anymore. He does not feel normal. His granddaughter refuses to accept that this is her grandfather. His body doesn't move the way his old body moved, so he ends up trampling bits of the garden that he doesn't sort of mean to. And the body has its own habits. The body has a desire to eat meat, which Truong Ba didn't really eat in life because he was a farmer, but this guy was a butcher. The butcher drank alcohol. Truong Ba didn't. And so Truong Ba wants to drink, the body wants to drink wine. It wants to eat meat. It wants to have sex with the butcher's wife. Truong Ba's soul doesn't want to do any of that stuff. And so there's this weird sort of balance where Truong Ba starts to sort of blend his identity with the butcher's identity in this really untenable way. And one of the things that ultimately happens is Truong Ba, who is a very gentle, kind, loving dude, actually slaps his son at one point so hard that his son's mouth and nose are bleeding. And the son's basically like, yeah, man, you fucking finally learned to stand up for yourself instead of being such a loser all the time. The local officials find out that the butcher is alive, but living with Truong Ba's wife. So they go and they're basically like, you got to go back to your wife. And they're like, but this is Truong Ba, just in the butcher's body. And the officials are like, doesn't compute. Not in our records. Can't prove it. He's the butcher. Truong Ba's son is basically like, listen, man, how about I just give you a bunch of money and then we make a deal where Truong Ba will spend half the half the day with the butcher's wife and half the day with his own family. And the official's like, yeah, what do I care? Just give me a percentage of everything sold at the butcher shop. And all of this is going on. And Truong Ba is gradually losing sort of control of his own behaviors, his own reactions, etc., etc. Finally, he basically ends up being like... So there's this really interesting bit, actually, where he has this dialogue between the soul and the body. The soul of Truong Ba steps from the body in this sort of dream sequence or metaphysical sequence or something like this. And the soul sort of puts its case as you, the body, are only the outer shell. You aren't in control. The soul is the higher part. And the body is basically like, yeah, you keep saying that, but really that's some bullshit. I mean, I've gotten you to eat a lot of meat. I've gotten you to drink a lot of wine. I've gotten you to want to have sex with the butcher's wife. You know, as long as you keep me happy, you can keep fucking having your little illusions that you're so pure and perfect and great and whatnot. And the soul's like, no, it's not illusions. It's real. I am good. And the body's like, hey, man, I hate to be the one to break it to you, but you're not. Like, yeah, I pushed you to do all these things, but you did them. And so it's a very interesting sequence. And the upshot of this is that Truong Ba sort of realizes, I can't do this. I can't continue to be Truong Ba if I'm going to be in the butcher's body. And beyond that, I don't have a right to do that. I don't have a right to the butcher's body. It is the butcher's body. And so he summons Datik, and basically he's like, hey, here's what I want you to do. Put the butcher's soul back in this body. My granddaughter's young friend, Tai, has just died. Put his soul back in his body. If you are my chess friend, you will do this. And Datik's like, I really shouldn't. Heaven is not going to be thrilled, and they're already kind of pissed at me. And Truong Ba is like, listen, man, if you don't, I'm gonna kill myself. I'm gonna destroy my soul and kill the butcher's body, and then you will have no one to play chess with. So either butcher's soul back in this body, resurrect Tai, or I fucking cut my head off. And Datik is like, don't do that. That's not good. Suicide's not the right answer, which is a very good message. There will, in the description below, there will be a link, or there will be a phone number for the US-based suicide hotline if you have suicidal ideation. We need you. So ultimately, Truong Ba convinces Datik to put the butcher's soul back in the butcher's body, to resurrect Tai, and then to just let Truong Ba's soul sort of go out into the universe. And it is this grand, noble gesture where Truong Ba sort of realizes that his soul has been deteriorated, right? It has given into the things that in life he did not pursue. It has his soul has allowed physical pleasure, enjoyment, etc., to become these sort of dominating forces in his life, and it has compromised the purity of his soul. And so he basically sort of gives himself up for the benefit of others. The butcher's wife needs her husband there, even though he was abusive. So it's a gray area in that case. He's giving her back an abusive husband, but it is her husband as opposed to somebody else's husband's soul. Truong Ba's family is suffering because he is in this body. Like, his granddaughter is miserable. She refuses to recognize that this is her grandfather. The wife is miserable because she is just convinced that Truong Ba wants to have sex with the butcher's wife, which the body wants, but Truong Ba's soul doesn't. But, you know, as with the eating meat and drinking wine, it seems like it's just a matter of time. So everybody is miserable. Truong Ba is miserable. His family is miserable. The butcher's wife is miserable. The granddaughter is now more miserable because Tai is dead. So everybody is suffering because, and Truong Ba can fix it. Sort of. Again, he's giving back an abusive husband to the butcher's wife, so that's not ideal. But Truong Ba sort of hopes that the experience of being dead and resurrected will maybe make him a little kinder, and he hopes that the butcher's wife, having now known what it is like to have a kind husband, will not put up with his bullshit anymore, which is good. So this is sort of the upshot of it, is Truong Ba is able to sort of redeem himself, redeem his soul by by sacrificing himself for the good of others.